The Billionaire's Father, A Heartbreaking Family Story by Selene Ardent. Chapter 1. The Forgotten Father. The morning sun filtered through the thin curtains of a modest two-bedroom apartment in the outskirts of Chicago. The place smelled faintly of old coffee and engine oil, scents that seemed to cling permanently to the man who lived there. Robert Miller, in his mid-50s, sat hunched over a small wooden table. His hands, calloused and rough from decades of labor, held a cup of instant coffee that had already gone cold.
He looked older than his age.
Deep lines etched across his forehead, and crow's feet fanned from the corners of his tired eyes. His once broad shoulders had slumped from years of hauling bricks, driving trucks, fixing engines, whatever job kept food on the table. Yet, despite the weathered look, there was a quiet dignity in him, a steadiness, as though he carried more than just physical burdens.
Robert lived for his children.
David, his son, was 24 and jobless, yet carried himself with a swagger as if the world owed him something. Emily, his daughter, was 22, a recent college graduate stuck in a cycle of short-term jobs and endless frustration. Both were bright. Both had potential. But neither saw their father as anything more than a washed-up old man who had failed to give them the life they believed they deserved. "Dad, seriously, we can't keep living like this." David's voice broke the silence as he shuffled into the kitchen, his hair messy, his eyes half open from a late night out. "Do you even realize how embarrassing it is to tell people what you do? Yesterday, a buddy asked me what my father does for a living. What am I supposed to say? That you fix broken pipes one day and haul trash the next?" Robert stirred his coffee, unbothered. "Work is work, son. Doesn't matter what it is, as long as it's honest." David scoffed. "Honest? It's pathetic. Everyone else's dad is something. A businessman, a lawyer, a manager, and mine's, what? A handyman who can't keep a steady job." He grabbed a piece of bread from the counter, bit into it, and muttered, "No wonder we're stuck in this dump." Emily emerged shortly after, already dressed neatly for a job interview. She wasn't as harsh as her brother, but her words carried just as much sting. "Dad, you know I have another interview today. I just hope they don't look down on me because of my background. It's humiliating when people ask about family. I can't lie, but saying you've never had a stable career doesn't exactly impress anyone." Robert smiled faintly, though his heart tightened at her words. "Emily, people don't hire you for who your father is. They hire you for who you are." She let out a frustrated sigh. That might be true in fairy tales, but in the real world, connections matter. Background matters. If you were someone important, maybe I'd have had a real career by now instead of running from one rejection to another. Silence lingered. Robert didn't argue. He never did. His children's resentment wasn't new. He carried it like he carried everything else, quietly. Later that afternoon, Robert left the apartment for work. Today, he was patching up a neighbor's leaky roof. Tomorrow, maybe he'd drive deliveries for a local warehouse. He never said no to a job, no matter how small. To outsiders, he seemed like just another aging man scraping by. But every now and then, odd moments broke through the monotony. Once, while walking home from work, Robert had bumped into an older man stepping out of a sleek black car. The man, dressed in an expensive suit, had paused, then suddenly removed his hat and bowed slightly. "Mr. Miller," he said respectfully, "it's been years." David, who had been trailing his father that day, had laughed afterward. "What the hell was that about? Some random guy mistaking you for someone else?" Robert had only smiled and kept walking. He never explained. That evening, dinner was quiet. Emily scrolled through her phone, sighing at pictures of friends who seemed to have everything: vacations, careers, polished families. David bragged about a new club he planned to visit, even though he had no job, no money, only debts Robert silently paid off. "Dad," Emily said suddenly, her tone sharper than usual, "don't you ever regret it? I mean, your life. Look at where we are. Don't you think you failed us?" The words cut like a blade. Robert set down his fork, looked at his children, and simply said, "I've never regretted doing what I had to do for you." David rolled his eyes. "That's such a loser's answer." Emily shook her head. "I just wish we had more." That's all. Robert smiled again, tired but patient. "One day, you'll understand." That night, as his children slept, Robert sat alone on the balcony, staring at the city lights. In the distance, skyscrapers glittered, symbols of success he could never claim. But deep inside, there was a part of him, long buried, that knew he once stood among those lights. He traced the scar along his forearm, a silent reminder of a night that had changed everything. Memories flickered: sirens, fire, a collapsing building, people screaming his name, and then the decision that had cost him his wealth, his career, and the life his children now despised. He closed his eyes. For now, the truth remained his burden alone.